All right, you're listening to the Tax Problem Solver. You can reach us at 877-257-1040 or my email address, ckm@taxproblemsolve.com, with any questions you might have. You can also go on that website at taxproblemsolve.com and get access to about 25 or 30 special reports that we have. All right, we're going to talk now about how to determine the correct amount that you owe the IRS. The IRS will send you a letter telling you that you owe $50,000, and you don't know whether that's correct or not. So we have clients that come to see me, and the first thing I do is I want to say, do you dispute the amount that they're trying to collect? And if they say no, we say, well, how do you know it's correct? Well, they've been billing me and they're the IRS, they should know. Well, not necessarily. They're not always correct. So you might be shocked to learn that the IRS sometimes makes mistakes and the amount they're attempting to collect is incorrect. So notices go out to taxpayers every day that are incorrect. One of the more common notices that are incorrect is they notice CP 2000. The IRS considers that part of their audit process. That's a letter or notice sent when they match the income reported in your Social Security number to your tax return. And you may have gotten a dividend from somewhere, sold a stock or a mutual fund that you didn't report on your tax return because you forgot. We have many people that don't report stock sales because they had a loss. Well, that $10,000 gain in sale is reported to the IRS, but not the $14,000 cost. So the taxpayer is being billed by the IRS for $10,000 when in fact they had a $4,000 loss. And we'll handle these notices, and in a loss situation like that, client usually gets a refund, maybe a few $100s, but it's a few $100. It helps offset my fee, and it corrects the return. So there could be wrong because the third party submitted the information wrong. They have an account that's one digit off on the Social Security number, and that amount was reported to the IRS in your number, but the income is mine, and they mailed me the notices, all the forms, and I reported on my tax return because it belongs there, and I didn't pay attention that the tax number is wrong, and the IRS has gotten their money, but they're trying to collect it from you, and they don't know it's wrong. So investment brokers are required to report the sales to the IRS. They're starting to have to report cost basis, but they don't know the cost basis on everything that you own and everything that you sold. You bought things prior to dealing with them. So, we're on a self-reporting method or basis with the IRS, and we have to give them what those numbers are. So we're required to keep track of all this information, not necessarily, the broker, you can't expect them. So, with a notice for balance due, there's always an amount added for penalty and interest. So we need to determine the dates that they have of the return being filed are correct so that you aren't being overbilled for the penalty. Check to make sure that the payments posted match when you paid and what you paid. What we also start out doing is we ask the client if we could see the tax returns for the years in question that they're trying to collect. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the amount is correct. So in order to make sure the amount is correct, we look at the tax return and see if it's correct. Did you report all your income? Are there any deductions missing? All right, you don't have a deduction for charitable contributions. Did you make any? Oh yeah, I always make about $7,000 or $8,000 a year. Can you prove them? Yeah. Well, they're not on here. Amend the tax return, lower it. Now the tax balance that you're trying to collect and the penalties and interest are less. You own your house, right? Yes. Well, I see mortgage interest, but no real estate taxes. Did you pay your taxes? Yeah, I pay them in my mortgage. Again, real estate taxes are not there. We're not able to deduct unreimbursed employee business expenses anymore, but maybe the person was a salesperson or someone who had a home office, worked out of their house, and had these deductions, and the IRS didn't give them credit for it because they don't know. So maybe we can amend a return for that. So occasionally a payment gets misapplied by the IRS and gets put to somebody else's account, or gets put in I forget what they call it, a holding account, because they don't know where to put it because you sent a check in without a payment voucher, without your social security number, and they don't know where to put it. So it's in this suspense account waiting to be found out. So that's why we ask for a copy of the front and back of the canceled check, because on the back of the canceled check is all the codings telling them what account it got posted, where it was posted to. So that's important. They have to track it down. So there's computer software available we have to recalculate the penalties and interest to determine if that is correct. There is first-time penalty abatement that pretty much if you've been in compliance prior, they'll abate the penalty for any reason, even without good cause. You know, we've had people, many people over the years that have not filed their tax return for many reasons. They owed money, didn't have it to pay. They dog ate their homework. You know, never had that, but I guess it could. You know, a fire, flood, mold, records were lost. They were in the middle of a sloppy divorce. The other spouse, when they left the house, the other spouse, I'll fix this one, and threw all their records out, everything they owned. Threw everything in the trash, threw their clothes in the golf clubs or their dishes on the front lawn, but threw all their paperwork in the fireplace or in the shredder or in the trash can, wherever it went. So there are many reasons why you may not have filed your tax return on time. So if we can have a good reason, we may be able to get those penalties abated. So again, that now brings the balance down from what the IRS is trying to collect. Also, about late filing of a tax return. We have to look and see when you actually did file that tax return. The IRS may be calculating the penalty on a wrong date when you paid your taxes late. So we go to your checkbook and your canceled checks to see and match it up with the transcripts. We always want to get a transcript. If you get a high electric bill, you're going to question it, right? So why not if you get an IRS notice that's high or you think is wrong? You need to question it. So all of those reasons come into account. First thing we do, like I said, is we want to see the original tax returns to see if that's true, if the numbers are correct. Then we quantify the tax. Then we look at the penalties and interest to see if they are correct, to see if there's anything that we can do to minimize those penalties. So what we'll do is do an audit of your tax return and your whole tax situation. Many times we find that the notices are incorrect. Not all, but many times. A lot of these CP 2000 notices we do find are incorrect because information was misreported by a payer, or you put it on your tax return. Your pension is payable. You work for ExxonMobil in your career, and you write down on your pension ExxonMobil, but the company that's paying it might be State Street Retirement Services, and the IRS is looking for it under State Street Retirement Services. You know, if we're filing a return, if you're doing a return electronically, that's probably not going to matter because we have to put in the tax ID number of the payer. So they're going to pick it up and match it with, in this example, State Street Retirement Services, not ExxonMobil. But if you're filing your own tax return and you just write down ExxonMobil, well, that might cause you to have a problem. They're going to be looking for this pension money that was paid by State Street Retirement Services. And State Street came to mind. They're one of the big funds that administer pension accounts. They may not do ExxonMobil, and they just both came into my head. So you need to review this to make sure that all this stuff's correct. So again, my name is Charles Montesino. I'm the tax problem solver. My phone number is 877-257-1040. My email address is ckm@taxproblemsolved.com. My website is taxproblemsolved.com. We have about 25 or 30 special reports there. Our radio shows, podcasts, everything is available on that website, newsletters. So you can go to that site and get anything you want. There's a lot of FAQs, frequently asked questions on there. We may be able to answer all your questions. You can email us through that site, or you just call us. Pick up the phone and call us. Somebody's there 24 hours a day to take your call. So we have a certified public accounting practice where we do normal accounting work. The tax problem solver, I am also a certified tax resolution specialist. That's somebody that's accredited by the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers in Buffalo, New York, that's trained specifically for this work. I'm part of their mastermind group. We have monthly video chats. We have 4 live sessions a year where we meet. 3 of them are in Buffalo. 1 was in Orlando in January. We get together. We have some continuing education. We discuss our cases. We help each other. We grill each other. Whatever needs to be done. And I've been on a hot seat and I've been grilled, and I've had the fun and the pleasure of grilling other people on the hot seat because they say they're going to do something, with marketing or something. They're all gung-ho and they go home and they don't do anything. So, again, we are called the Tax Problem Solver. We're certified public accountants and certified tax resolution specialists. We're located in Sewell, New Jersey, about 20 minutes from the Walt Whitman Bridge. And it's convenient for anybody there. If you can't get to us, your cases can be handled over the phone, by fax, by email. We like to meet with our clients the first time at least. We want them to meet us and know who we are. But we understand that not everybody can come to our office. Not everybody's close. Not everybody has transportation to get to us. So we can help you no matter where you are or no matter what your circumstances are. So let's get back here to determining the correct balance due. Once you determine the correct balance due, then we figure out how you're going to pay it. Now, as crazy as it sounds, the first option I give my clients is full pay, write a check. Well, that's the number 1 option. That'll settle the case, lickety split, it's done, it's over. Then we can get all the liens released and everything. But that's usually not the case. Then we look to see, can they afford to make a monthly payment? Now, once we've determined the correct balance due, and it comes down from $100,000 to $60,000 because of penalties, misapplied payments, maybe the taxpayer can write that check, even though it's $60,000. If not, we look at installment agreements. How much can you afford to pay per month? And we file the paperwork and we negotiate with the IRS to get you to pay what you can afford. Next option is could be an offer in compromise to make a settlement with the IRS for what you can afford based upon the equity in your assets and your monthly available cash flow. And that has no relationship to what you owe, it's what you can afford to pay. Then we have what's called currently non-collectible status that the IRS has. And that means that you can't afford to pay, but you might be able to afford to pay in the future. So they put you on that uncollectible status for a year or 2, monitor your tax return. And if your income changes or anything changes drastically, then they will look at it and ask for updated financial information to see if you can afford to pay more. Bankruptcy could be an issue. Tax returns have to be more than 3 years old, and it has to be filed for at least 2 years, assessed for 180 days, can't be part of a tax evasion or a tax fraudulent scheme. So those are the options. So again, this is the Tax Problem Solver, Charles Montesino at 877-257-1040.